I always believed I knew who I was. My name, my city, my job, these things defined me. But one day I realized I knew almost nothing about where I truly came from. It all started when my grandmother passed away, leaving behind a small wooden box filled with letters, photos, and a faded map. Inside was a note written in careful handwriting. "Find where our story began." That message sparked a curiosity in me that I couldn't ignore. I decided to trace my ancestry to discover the people, places, and stories that shaped my family long before I was born. At first, I began online. I uploaded a DNA test and waited weeks for the results. When they finally arrived, I was surprised. My ancestry wasn't as simple as I thought. The results showed connections to regions I had never imagined: small villages in Europe, parts of Southeast Asia, and even traces from North Africa. It was as if my blood carried the map of forgotten generations. Each discovery felt like unlocking a hidden chapter of my own identity. I contacted distant relatives I had never heard of before, people who spoke different languages and lived on the other side of the world. Through video calls and translated letters, we began to piece together our shared history. One woman, Sophia, showed me an old photograph of my great-great-grandfather standing beside a wooden boat. He had traveled across the sea with nothing but a journal and a dream of a better life. That story touched me deeply. I imagined his courage, leaving behind everything familiar, stepping into the unknown. Maybe that same adventurous spirit lived in me too. Driven by that thought, I decided to travel and see these ancestral places myself. My first stop was a quiet coastal town where the ocean smelled of salt and thyme. The locals welcomed me with warmth, offering stories passed down through generations. One elderly fisherman said he remembered hearing about a man from my family who once helped rebuild boats after a great storm. Hearing that, I felt a strange connection, as if the waves carried whispers from the past. Next, I visited a small mountain village where my grandmother's side of the family once lived. The air there was pure and cold, and the houses were built from stone and wood. An old woman at the local cafe pointed me toward an ancient church, saying my ancestors might be recorded in its archives. Inside, the church was quiet except for the creaking of the wooden floor. A caretaker led me to dusty books filled with names, births, and marriages from centuries ago. And there, written in delicate ink, was my family name. It was an overwhelming moment. I felt both small and infinite at the same time. These weren't just names. They were lives, dreams, and sacrifices that made my own existence possible. As I continued traveling, I began to realize something profound. Exploring Ancestry isn't only about finding old records or family trees. It's about rediscovering the human connections that time tries to erase. It's about realizing that we all come from a web of stories of migrations, loves, and losses that stretch beyond generations. One evening, while sitting beside a campfire in my ancestral homeland, I took out my grandmother's old map. The stars above mirrored the tiny dots she had drawn decades ago. I traced the line she marked, the same route my great-great-grandfather might have walked, and in that quiet moment I felt a peace I had never known before. I thought about how identity is not just who we are today, but who we come from, every ancestor whose choices echo in our DNA. We carry their courage, their mistakes, their resilience. We are living proof that their stories mattered. When I finally returned home, I wasn't the same person. I brought with me more than photos or souvenirs. I brought wisdom. I understood now why my grandmother wanted me to find where our story began. Because only by looking back can we truly move forward. My journey taught me that discovering one's roots is not about nostalgia. It's about connection. It reminds us that humanity is a family, woven through time, language, and love. Whether your ancestors came from distant lands or nearby towns, their legacy continues in you. Weeks after I returned, I decided to create a family book. Each page held stories, dates, and images, a living memory of where we came from. I shared it online so that other family members could add their own chapters. Soon, people began contributing, from cousins in other countries to relatives I had never met. It became more than a family tree. It became a living network of hearts connected by history. Sometimes I still look at that old photo of my great-great-grandfather beside his boat. His eyes seem to say, "Keep going," and I smile because I finally understand. The search for our roots isn't just about the past. It's about finding meaning in the present. It's about knowing that no matter where we go, we carry our ancestors within us, in our choices, our values, and our dreams. As I close my grandmother's wooden box for the last time, I whisper, "I found it." Because now, I don't just know where my story began, I know who I am.